Hi, everyone. It's Tessa.
And Joe.
From the Unveiling Paradise podcast.
Tessa, summer is almost here, and so many of our listeners are about to have their epic destination wedding.
And we are so excited for you guys.
Before the big day, guys, we want you to make sure you listen to these 3 episodes.
Episode 62, Deep Diving Your Wedding Ceremony.
Episode 53, Questions Your Wedding Guests Will Ask.
And episode 31, The Final Countdown to Your Wedding Day.
And if you're planning your wedding here in Hawaii, hit us up and ask us about our Unveiling Paradise podcast promo.
Happy planning. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Unveiling Paradise podcast. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Tessa. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're back in the studio, feeling good, feeling happy, feeling like we got lots of good stuff to share today.
Yeah, we are recording, and I am so excited because we have had a ton of things to talk about and things that we just kind of, I think, assume people know and don't. And so I think we've had a lot of really great conversations with vendors, with couples, and we're ready to share. We're ready to share more.
Hey, Tessa, before we start the show today, I want to ask you a really weird question. Have you ever been to a wedding where there hasn't been a wedding planner or a wedding coordinator?
I mean, I guess the tricky thing is, do you mean like working? Because I am a wedding planner, so I'm technically there. But I have been to, family or friends that have invited me as a guest.
Yeah.
And I wasn't their planner or their coordinator. So, there have been some without technically a working one, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Because sometimes for us, since we do photo and video, not all weddings that we do have a wedding coordinator. And I can tell you, how different an experience it is when you have a coordinator and when you don't. And really what I think we're talking about mostly is just like the show, running the timeline, like all those moving parts that have to work together, the things that you would be normally managing. Is the officiant here? Are we ready to go for the ceremony? Is the bride lined up? Whatever it is. When you don't have a coordinator, that timeline is very different. And a lot of times it's weird, but I feel like I end up filling those shoes where I'm like, okay, we gotta get the couple to the ceremony, or we gotta finish our photos so dinner can start,
If there's no planner, if there's no one that created the timeline, like you said, you have photo and video that's kind of running on the back end. You also have the DJ MC that creates their own timeline to run the program. So it's interesting because it's a lot of different people that are trying to create a timeline that may or may not be seamless or may not be focused on the wedding as a whole versus you as a photographer. If you're creating a timeline, your focus is obviously photo. You're going to make sure that you have time for all the photos. In the bigger picture, if we step back, that may not work for a 10-course meal, right? Pulling them away for an hour for photos. Or for the DJ, it may not work if he wants to do a 2-hour set at the end of the night. We're going to cut everything short, and maybe they don't get everything they want on other aspects of their wedding day.
What's really strange about weddings is I think there's this kind of like a time, space, continuum, like some sort of time warp that happens on a wedding day. Like for our couple, it's like the day goes by at warp speed.
So fast.
You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so fast. Things are just, and I think a lot of it has to do with all of the things that are happening. There's so much excitement and emotion and suspense and drama and all these things, right? Things in normal life that you're doing on your wedding day actually take a lot longer. So I just saw this really interesting thing on TikTok. I think the coordinator, she's a wedding planner in Wisconsin. She had this interesting post and it totally went viral, and it's about the 35 rule. So have you seen this?
I have. So you're saying 30, comma, or /5, right? Not like the number 35.
Yeah, 30/5. Yeah, you got it.
So basically what it means is what in normal real world time would take you 5 minutes on a wedding day takes 30 minutes.
Yeah. And I think the reason why it went viral is because it does sort of speak to the truth of a wedding day. Things don't go at the same pace and the same speed on your wedding day that they do in real life. And if we kind of think about this like 35 rule, right? When you're thinking about your timeline, you need to give yourself more time than less time. So when you're talking 30-5, what might take you 5 minutes in real life, really you need 30 minutes on your actual wedding day to do that same thing.
And a small example is going to the bathroom. Depending on the dress that a bride may choose to wear, if it's a fitted dress or if it's a, over the top dress, I have had to help brides take off their dress fully versus pulling it up. They can't pull up their dress. So we have had to fully take their dress off, put it somewhere so it doesn't wrinkle, get them to the restroom, give them time to use the bathroom, and then help put it on again. So it's not that simple run to the restroom on any other day of the year. Like, this is your wedding day. It's all of these little things to think about that you don't consider, but it's so important to have a good, strong timeline that works for everyone.
I think it's really awkward that you said that going to the restroom actually takes longer. I feel like, but
it's true.
I feel like you think of all like the old school dads that bring their newspaper into the toilet and they're going to just day off. They're going to take their time. But not for our brides. I mean, you like, they even have these like weird contraptions that allow you to like pull your dress up, you know, like what is it called? It's like a little hoop thing that
it's a little hoop, or even people have used like IKEA bag hacks, but it's still depending on your dress. If it's a more fitted, you can't use that, or it's going to wrinkle depending on the fabric, right? So that is good for certain types of dresses, but not all. Some dresses you truly do have to strip down, take it off, and then put it back on.
Yeah.
Every time you use the bathroom.
Yeah. Man, I guess it's good to be a guy, right?
Well, I mean, it depends. You know, some of these guys don't like, so, you know, in a tuxedo, you don't have belt loops, right? You have the kind of belt adjusting panels. Yeah. And a lot of guys don't know how to fix that. So we need to help them get dressed again after they use the bathroom too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So it just takes time.
Well, this is really fascinating for me because when we think about planning your wedding, I think you and I are both on the same page that we want to make sure that you're enjoying your day, that you're not rushing from one thing to the next and you're stressed out. You want to have the right amount of time where you can be in all those moments and not feel rushed. But in order to do that, you really have to give a lot of thought to what a wedding day timeline is and how different it is from real life. So do you want to get into today's show?
Yeah, let's get started.
Perfect.
Welcome to Unveiling Paradise, your go-to destination wedding podcast. I'm Tessa, wedding planner and owner of Fred and Kate Events.
And I'm Joe, wedding and adventure photographer of Joseph Esser Photography. We are based in Hawaii, one of the biggest, most popular locations for destination weddings.
We want to share our real-life experiences with you, give you insight from a professional's perspective, and still make sure you're having fun in the process.
We're huge believers in the fact that planning a destination wedding can be one of the most amazing experiences, and we want to bring you along.
We're so excited to talk with you about weddings, Hawaii, and everything else under the sun.
So pack your bags and let's get started.
Welcome back to the show. Again, today we are talking about padding your timeline. What we saw on TikTok was called the 30-5 rule, or what I like to call it, it's wedding day girl math. Right? Because again, it's things that in everyday life or, you know, even in non-everyday life, you're like, this cannot take more than 5 minutes.
Right.
I kind of relate this to budgets. So like, it can't be more than this much. Like, this is what it should cost, right? But it's the understanding why things cost so much, or the understanding why we need so much time. Why don't we start at the top, the beginning of the wedding day?
Yeah, I think this is really fascinating for me because, I don't know, like we do a lot of phone calls before our wedding, you know, like even when we're doing our initial consults with couples and they say, you know, we want like pictures of the dress and then maybe, you know, getting into the dress, you know, maybe mom's helping or whatever it is, like 5 minutes. It'll take like 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh boy, because, you know, you're talking about two very separate things, right? If we're photographing your dress, you can't be in it, right? You can't be like, you know, actually in it. And so, you know, like when we're taking pictures and stuff, like a lot of times it takes a little finessing to make that dress look perfect for photos. Like sometimes we'll use a little safety pin to make the waistline really pretty. We're finding a spot in maybe your hotel room, or if you're at a house or wherever you're at, to find that beautiful spot to hang it. You know, we got to move stuff. Maybe there's like, you know, food everywhere or suitcases and stuff. And in order to get that really pretty shot, it takes a little bit of time.
So it's the staging of the photos, right? The actual shot, the picture of the dress, the click.
Yeah.
Is quick, but it's kind of that time before. I've been to a ton of hotel rooms where the lighting's really funky. Yep. So I'm guessing, again, I'm not a professional photographer, but I'm thinking you have to kind of move things around to find the best place for the dress. Is there a place to even hang the dress?
Right.
Do you take it outside? You know, whatever those things are. And the same with the details, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like we've all had these weddings where you walk into, and I think it's usually the guy's room that's just chaos. There's McDonald's wrappers and like alcohol, random, like who knows that you're going to find in a guy's room. Same thing for the girls though. Like a lot of times you walk in and you want those really pretty photos, but it's not like when you show up, it's not looking so pretty in there. And so, sometimes we're, like we act as almost like housekeeping when we get there.
Yeah. Fix the bed, pick the things off the floor, throw things in the bathroom. Again, there's so many things that lead to the photo that you want. That's going to take, a couple minutes. Yeah. You have to account for those times if you want those photos.
And that's just one single photo. And we might, again, take, 5 or 6 different versions of it where we have the close-ups and the whatever. But that's one photo. We're doing a lot of other things. So I love to do a flat lay. And I think for all of our listeners, maybe who aren't familiar with that, it's taking all of your details and really getting into it, like styling it, making it really pretty, where you're doing sort of where you're taking a photo from above of all those details. That takes time to set up too. If you 1 minute, go, get the dress, get the shoes, get the flat leg, get all this. And then we want candles of hair and makeup and the bridesmaids and their robes and their champagne toast and all these other things before you even get into the dress. There's a lot going on. It's not like throwing on your gym clothes and heading out the door.
It's true. And, it's funny because in addition to those things that we are anticipating, there's also all the things that we're not anticipating. Is the hair and makeup running behind? Do we want pictures of your invitation, but shoot, where did it go? So now we're texting everyone in the hotel, do you have a copy of the invitation? Or if the flowers are late and you wanted part of your flowers for your flat lay for photos, we have to go run down and meet them at the lobby, bring up your flowers. So there's so much more to think about with the plan details and also the unknowns.
One of the things I am always chasing down are the wedding rings. I feel like sometimes the rings might be with, the best man or mom or whoever it is, and we're chasing those down. Those are really great photos for details, especially for our flat lay if we don't have them. And I'm so happy you said the what ifs. What if things don't go according to plan? Now, I just personal experience, things don't go according to plan. Guess what happens? Your day becomes very stressful if you are under a time crunch. If you are chasing down things, or if you're trying to fix a bridesmaid's dress that, the buttons popped off or whatever it is, and you don't have time, then it becomes really stressful. If you have time, no worries.
Exactly. And that's why, for us, padding the timeline is so important. I know you kind of talked about bridesmaid dresses and having to fix it up. One of the things that people don't account for is how long it takes to get into your wedding dress. Mm-hmm. And that's a big one. We, in our timelines, give 30 minutes. Sometimes we give 40.
Just to get into the dress.
Just to get into the dress. Yep. And a lot of times for me, it's what kind of dress, who's helping you get in. Again, do you have photo and video that are trying to get details? Do you have a content creator? Do you have accessories that go on? A lot of dresses have additional accessories now, which is either the fancy belts or the sleeves or the overskirt. And those things, in addition to getting the dress on, you have to put those accessories on. You also want to get pictures with and without them. We did a lovely wedding together where they had a bow that was from her grandmother's dress, but she wanted some pictures with and some pictures without it. So it's getting her into her dress, getting those details, getting her bridesmaids back to help her, get the bow on, getting pictures, and then taking it off because she didn't want it walking down the aisle.
And I love that you shared that because, besides just the dress, there's so much other things that are happening. So for me, when we're shooting photo and video, we want to have everyone involved in the photos. We want to have, mom putting the veil on and, putting the jewelry on and having those portraits in the dress and having everybody, I call it the Cinderella moment where everybody's helping and, fixing the veil and fixing the train. One other thing that I think is also important to mention here is just because the bride is ready doesn't mean that you're ready to get into the dress. A lot of times, if you're going to be in the photos, if it's the mother of the bride or bridesmaids or grooms, whoever it is, they also have to be dressed.
Right.
And so it takes more time. If you want everyone dressed for those photos, they got to get dressed too before you're getting dressed.
In addition to just, getting everyone into their dresses before the bride, helping her get dressed or whatnot, I always go back to the what ifs, right? What if one of the bridesmaids, her dress doesn't fit? Mm-hmm. And we've had it happen where bridesmaids have gained or lost weight and they haven't tried their dresses on. So now we're trying to, on the spot, fix it before we get to the bride. What if the bride has buttons down her dress and she didn't know that, and now we have to button each one. You know, I've definitely had more than one bride where they've said, oh no, the buttons are fake. You know, we have a zipper and the buttons are fake, but there's actually the hooks. They just didn't realize that they had to do it too. It takes a good 10-15 minutes to get those buttons done sometimes. So
let's not forget the most awkward thing we can talk about on a podcast, boob tape.
Yeah.
that I swear to God, like taping boobs happens a lot at weddings, and that takes time. Like, it's something, again, like you don't do this all day in your everyday life, but on your wedding day, there's a lot of boob taping.
You got to tape everyone and all the girls in. And it takes time, right? Because a lot of times if you're not used to it and you don't know how to use the tape, you know, then my team has to come in and will help in all of those things, but it just takes time.
What about the guys? Are the guys just like, you know, easy peasy and like, you know, like no problem every day kind of thing? Or
you want to think so. Again, same thing, right? They open up their rented suits or their rented tuxes and they're like, what's this? It's a bow tie that's not tied, and they've never tied one. And I don't know if listeners, you've seen it, but it's a long kind of lumpy thing that you tie to make it into a bow tie, but they've never seen it. They have no idea how to use it. If it's a large wedding party, like my team needs time to help you guys, or even a regular tie. A lot of guys don't know how to tie, you know, a double Windsor knot. And so it takes time for us to do these things where, you know, we were hoping and assuming that all the guys knew how to do it themselves, or they said they did. And after, you know, so many YouTube videos, they're like, I can't figure it out. And so we don't know what to do.
Right. What's funny is we just had a wedding and the groom was like, for my wedding, I'm going to have a wedding tie, which what that meant for him was like a double Windsor knot. He's like, you've only do this once in your life, and it's going to be, you know, this, you know, really fancy way of tying your tie. Most people don't know how to do that.
How did it look?
It looked great, but he wanted to do it himself. He wanted to learn. So he was on his phone, you know, like just watching the, you know, 5-minute YouTube video. It took him about 3 tries. It's pretty good.
I love that. I love that.
The wedding tie.
The wedding tie.
Can we talk about another big one? Family photos.
That's a good one. Yeah, talk about it.
So family photos, right? You know, again, like you absolutely need more time than you would expect. You know, and a lot of it, I guess for me, like a lot of it is like herding cats.
Yeah.
You know, and if you have these really full, you know, big families, and let's say grandpa has to go to the bathroom, you can't stop him from going to the bathroom. You know, he's got to go to the bathroom. And so like, you know, a lot of times it's like just trying to make sure that everybody is there, doesn't wander off to the bar, doesn't wander off to the bathroom. And then you have to pose them, you know, and as you're posing people, you know, like it takes time.
And on the opposite side of, you know, 100-year-old grandpa, you have the babies in the family. And if they're in a mood and they're fussy, the parents take them out, and the parent may be your sibling, right? So now you don't have a full family photo because you're missing your siblings, you're missing your nieces and nephews, you're missing, you know, grandpa in the bathroom. So they take time, number one, to gather everyone, to herd them. Number two, what you mentioned is, again, it's posing all of them, right? Now everyone is dressed up a little more than they normally are. They may not be comfortable with what they're in, or they may not be used to, you know, wearing a jacket. So we have to make sure that the jackets look good, that the ties are straight, that, you know, we take time to make sure that everyone is looking good. And for every single photo, it takes a little time.
You know, it's really funny. Also, it's a lot of times your family photos can be, I don't know how to say this, a moving target. We just had this beautiful wedding on this terrace at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, and the edge was the spot to take pictures if it was cloudy. It was gorgeous. But when that sun came out, oh my gosh, it was just like so hot, and everyone instantly started sweating, like, and squinting and everything.
And squinting.
Yeah. So, you know, again, like if the lighting conditions change, we have to move where we're shooting, right? And we have to make those adjustments. You don't want to look like you're melting and squinting, like miserable in your photos. You do have to, you know, sometimes you have to make those moves, and maybe sometimes it happens a couple times, you know, where the sun comes in and out or whatever it is.
And we've worked, you know, my team and I have worked with a lot of different photographers, and it's consistent throughout everyone. You know, we're in the middle of family photos, the lighting changes, and we have to move large groups of people somewhere else to get the photos. If not, again, people are squinting. It's so bright that, you know, everyone's sweaty, or again, they're just not looking in their best lighting. So we have to physically move all the groups of people to better lighting for that point, and possibly move them back if the lighting changes again.
Yeah, and that's so important. Like these are like big moments that you want to memorialize for your wedding day. You want everyone to look great. You want everyone to feel comfortable, but sometimes it takes more time than just taking a picture on a roller coaster at Disney or something.
Exactly, and that's how we pad the timeline. You know, one thing, so In full disclosure, couples, I'm not normally the one standing with the photographer. I have a team and they watch the photographers. And for some reason, a couple weeks ago, I was helping. I was with the photographers. Like, that was my job. And I'm like, I'm going to kill it. I also, and it wasn't Joe, just so everybody knows, but I was like, why is this person taking so long? Yeah. So we actually went to lunch the following week and I said, hey, I just got to ask you, like, is this a normal timeline? Because if I'm creating the timeline, like, am I setting you up for success? And they were saying, as a professional, you always want redundancies. Yep. For photos, for your family photos, like, these are the ones you're going to want. These are the ones you keep. You have to take it on 2 cameras just in case. Sometimes on 3 cameras. So it takes time to get these pictures. And even though you're taking with 2 cameras back to back, again, the lighting could change. Baby could start crying. There's so many things that happen. If you're working with video or content creators, they want to get that shot too. So it just takes more time than you would think. I've had, again, couples where they just stop smiling. They're like, we're tired. So right. You got to kind of hype it again, right? But I did talk to this photographer because I'm like, I just have to know, And I think after that, I talked to you and you're like, that's what a professional should do. They should be taking with at least 2 cameras. Yeah,
well, I think this one you told me was taking with 3 cameras, which I thought was a little like the same exact photo with 3 cameras.
More professional. I love that.
And I don't think more professional. But here's the thing, guys. Like, when you think about this, and this is a real story that happened to one of my buddies who's a wedding photographer in Texas. He was shooting this beautiful wedding, had gone through all of the family photos, was getting into the couple's photos. He's backing up, doesn't realize there's a pond behind him.
Oh, no.
And boom, he's in the water. One of his cameras just totally gets submerged. What if you took all the family photos on one camera? You drop that camera, your camera explodes, whatever happens. Like, you have to have redundancies because these are so important. These are things that happen and you can't redo them, you know? And so I'm so happy you talked about that. I think it's really important. But also, I want to just say one more thing. We're taking pictures of a couple. And, a lot of times our brides are in these really beautiful, elaborate dresses and it's windy. Like, what if the veil is moving around? What if the train keeps on whipping around? Like, what if somebody, when you're taking pictures with family needs to step underneath that dress? You are taking that extra time to pose them because I think that attention to detail matters.
Again, going back to, girl math and realizing that everything on a wedding day takes longer. One of the biggest things that I see or I get pushback from with my couples is transportation, the amount of time it gets from 2 different spaces. And what I mean by that is if you're getting ready, say at an outdoor venue and they don't have a getting ready room, so you're getting ready somewhere else.
Like a hotel or something.
Like a hotel. Yeah. They're mapping, on Google Maps, okay, from point A to point B, it's 30 minutes. They're not accounting for getting out of their room. Is the shuttle there? Is there traffic? Are you traveling in Hawaii or Oahu on a weekday afternoon? Because there's always rush hour traffic. They're not accounting for those things. They're not accounting for getting to the venue and unloading everything. Because it's not just hopping off a bus. It's you might be bringing, favors or a welcome sign or, alcohol, whatever it is. You need room to, or you need space to unpack all of that too. So adding that time and padding that time is so important, not just for the couple, but for the guest. If the shuttle is leaving one area and no one's on the bus or only half the people, the shuttle waits. The shuttle will wait for people, which will then push back their drive time.
You and I have been at weddings where there's a car accident. Like, you can't plan for that, right? I'm a dad, right? And I have this saying with my daughter, if you're early, you're on time. And if you're on time, you're late. Like, you do not want to be late. And if you're showing up like right when the ceremony starts, guess what? You're late, And so that's why I think like padding that timeline for all the what ifs, traffic, accidents, schools just getting out early or whatever. Like, you don't want to be cutting it close on your wedding day.
One more what if is a couple's shoes, guys and girls. They're wearing new shoes. I have seen poor brides trying to walk to their shuttle in their shoes and it's painful. Or guys aren't used to the fact that there's no grip. If you're buying Louis Vuittons, they're slippery. Right. You have to know how to walk in those shoes or it is going to take you a while to move anywhere. So accounting for those things too.
That's awesome. I love that.
Adding on to the idea of transportation and movement, it's not just physically from a hotel to your venue or from 2 separate venues for ceremony and reception. It's the physical movement within that space too. If you're moving 200 people from ceremony to reception, it takes time. Mm-hmm. A lot of couples are going to linger. We live on Oahu and every venue here is gorgeous. So you always get people that are taking their selfies, doing their photos. But if we're trying to get a big group photo and we're trying to move them and we can't because they're taking pictures of themselves, like it counts, it matters, right? So the movement, the wedding parties, we've done weddings where the wedding party is, 10 on each side. Trying to move that many people, if they are drinking or partying or having a good time, it's difficult. They have now forgotten their shoes in the room. Or, okay, ladies, who has their bouquets? The guys are still trying to put on their ties. Like, it takes a lot of time for us to get them out of the room and get them where we need to be.
Like herding wildcats.
Wildcats.
Yeah, and again, like I think about like, what is our tips on this? Again, when you have somebody in that role to support you on your wedding day, whether that be a wedding coordinator or sometimes even it's just a charismatic DJ who's like, okay, everybody, we need to get you guys into the reception. Like you have to have somebody that helps that movement. Otherwise, you're right. Like people just linger. And I think one more thing that happens on a wedding day is like people's hearing goes really bad.
Intentionally, I think.
But I'm going to be at the bar. I know I need to go there, but I'm still going to be at the bar talking, whatever.
Right. Or, I'll grab a drink real quick and come back. But you don't realize if 30 people are doing it, it holds up everything.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move into the final part of what I think like really gets hit on a wedding timeline. And that's the reception, right? And one of the things I want to talk about is table pics. Have you guys been to weddings before where the couple wants to go around and take pictures with every single person or do a toast with every single person? That sounds like it should be quick. You have 200 people. Like how much time would you allocate for that in and of itself?
Well, first of all, I would do everything I can to discourage it for 200 people. With 200 people, and if you're assuming round tables, you're looking at about 25 tables. If you're going to do a quick photo with everyone, 1 to 2 minutes per photo. With that said, that's also assuming that people are not stopping to hug you, introduce you to their significant others, right? That's where we lose time. It's everybody wants to celebrate and greet the couple. And so it's not just a table picture. It becomes your receiving line. It becomes your greeting point with everyone. And if poor table 25 hasn't eaten, they're not going to eat for like an hour plus.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times the way the reception flows is, couples are like, oh, this is a great idea. We'll take a picture with every table before they go to the buffet. But it takes time. All of a sudden now they're being held up. The last tables are getting fussy because they're hungry. Everyone's going up to talk to you guys. And because the first, 5 or 10 feel very special, they are really taking that time. The ones later tend to go quicker because they're like, they see the wait. The ones in the beginning are like, oh, great. We're so, we have time. We can eat. We can take our time. And it just slows things down.
So one of the things I think you're talking about too is if you're going around to do table pictures, sometimes the couple will go around to the actual tables. Alternatively, the couple will be maybe on a dance floor and everyone will...
Or at their table.
Yeah, or at their table and everyone will go up to them to take a picture with them.
Either way, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one is better than the other. I am acknowledging that both of them take a lot of time.
And that like my favorite thing, and I know it's probably a pet peeve to you, right, is that I love the photo table blitz. Have you guys seen this? I mean, like this, like every couple that I talk to, I know you're probably just keep on getting annoyed with me for suggesting it because it's so fun. But like what has been really popular in the last year has been to go around and try to take a picture with each table in the amount of time that a single song plays. So you have like 3 minutes and you're just, everyone is ready. You take a picture, you jump in and you go. And like that for me actually is a lot more fun way to actually take table pictures because I think you get real genuine smiles and it's chaos. And I love that a little bit.
I'm not mad at it. I actually really like that idea. It's just for me as a planner that works with multiple photographers, not everyone can run and do that. It's nice because you go so fast, they don't have time to talk to everyone. It's a jump in the photo, move, jump in the photo, move. And I like that. But you need an MC that can hype everyone and explain it. You also need to have a good planning team that can get the tables lined up. And you have to have a photographer that can run. I mean, that's all it is, right? Some of our photographers are great, but they're not going to run.
They're not moving very mobily.
I also worry that, like, what if you slip and fall?
Okay. I know that's why you do redundant pictures in case when your camera explodes, falls into like the soup bowl or whatever.
Right? Yeah. But I don't hate that idea. It does help speed things up. But again, table pictures are something that couples are like, this will be 5-10 minutes. We'll go quickly. It's not. It's not. It's definitely one of those black holes of time. And then the couple doesn't get to eat. Your vendors don't get to eat. You know, we have to find that balance and pad your wedding day. One other place in the reception that I always see kind of losing control are the family speeches. And I always tell couples, when we're padding the timeline or when we're building a timeline, we want to tell people 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes tops.
Everybody always listens to that too, right?
I'm going to tell you who doesn't listen. The fathers. Anyone that has a father of a bride, a groom, anyone. And I have actually had a father come to me and he was like, listen, I have one daughter. I have been waiting for this day my entire life. My speech is 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Don't stop me.
Yeah.
That's fine because I can plan for that. I have padded for that. If he tells me he's going to be 20 minutes, I'm going to do it.
It's probably like 40 minutes.
I know. The problem is when parents get up there and they're winging it and they're feeling sentimental and they just start going for 10, 15 minutes. Like I cannot, and I tell my couples, I'm never going to stop your parents from speaking. I'm not pulling the mic from grandpa. If he's talking, we're going to let it ride. But this will affect your timing of everything else.
Can I add one more thing? And this happens when we don't have a wedding planner or wedding coordinator. The open mic.
Oh, no.
Have you ever seen this before? Where
no,
they're like,
because I stop it.
Yeah, where they're like, okay, does anyone else want to say something? And then what happens is it just turns into every single person feeling the need to get up on the microphone. And literally we've gone through an entire guest, like every single guest felt pressured to go up and say something like, oh my God, nobody wants to do that on their wedding day. Don't do that, you know?
No, maybe at like a rehearsal dinner, you know, where it's more
don't
chill.
Even do that. No.
Well, I'm not there. Do it when I'm not there. That's fine. It's nice to have that, but not on your wedding, not when you're trying to, again, there's so many things going on, right? You want time to dance. You want time to mingle and talk to all of your guests. Don't let those unknowns add more time that you're not willing to let go of.
Okay. Well, I love this. I think like just wrapping your head around the amount of time you really need to create an enjoyable day where you're not feeling stressed out and you're not like you're running like a chicken with its head cut off. You don't want that, right? The 35 rule, I really love this idea. Whoever this person is that came up with this idea, it's so relevant for everything that happens on your wedding day.
Exactly. So padding your timeline, the 35 rule, all of it makes sense. If you have a strong timeline, and I'm going to say this one more time, that everybody follows, because again, you can create a timeline and if nobody follows it, it doesn't matter. Get your vendors on board, get your family on board. If everybody follows a strong timeline that is padded, you can enjoy your day. Things may come up, you know, crazy things, and it's okay. You will have time to still enjoy, which is all we want at the end of the day.
Absolutely. All right, guys. And with that, it's a wrap. We will catch you guys on another show. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Unveiling Paradise.
If you enjoy our show, please follow us and rate us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would really mean a lot.
And don't forget to also get on our mailing list and follow us on Instagram. Just do it already.
Until next time, this is Tessa.
And this is Joe.
And don't forget, your happily ever after
is just a plane ride away.